Thank you for being here tonight. Often, you do not really get to see the speakers that you just saw. But in our party, as we prepare the next generation of leaders, I think it's important that you see people who've come out of your communities on stage performing before you, because you can recognize in them that this party and our country will be in safe hands in the future. And we're a party that does not only think for and plan for today. We're a political party that thinks about today and we plan for the future. And that is what differentiates us from every other political party in this country. And you can rest assured that your children and your own futures will be prosperous and secure once the PPP is in office. We will rise to every challenge and we will find solutions that are in line with the aspirations of our people. So often, I do not get a chance to speak to you face to face. I hope that many of you have listened to us and how we have navigated the past 5 years, the press conferences, and the interactions through the media. And I hope that over the next 35 days or so, that you will continue to do so, to follow the issues at the national level. Tonight, I want to speak to you heart to heart. I recall coming here to speak to you in 2020, and how different a place it was. In this country, there was a year of hopelessness. People did not have any optimism about their future. They were concerned because our country was losing jobs, we were losing welfare. APNU took away basic things from every group of people. They took away the farm-to-market roads from the farmers. They added tax to fertilizer and pesticides and machinery for the rice farmers. They increased taxes for the miners. The pensioners lost their free water. Our children lost $10,000 because we care grant. The joint services lost their 1-month tax-free bonus. The Amerindians lost 2,000 jobs when they terminated the CSOs. The sugar workers lost 7,000 jobs. Every sector was suffering. We were hemorrhaging jobs. We were losing welfare. There was no money in circulation. And there was no hope for the future, because had they continued, this would have been a disaster in Guyana. We also went to those elections knowing the history of the PNC, that they will return to their old habits, the habit of rigging elections. And as we predicted, you saw what happened after the polls. It took us 5 months of struggle of every kind to prevail. And had we not prevailed at that time, had we not persevered, had we not won, had we not fought them tooth and nail through the courts, on the streets, everywhere, through the recount, through getting the international community to threaten sanctions, then this Guyana would have been like what happened in Venezuela. We would have lost our freedom, we would have never been another free election in this country, and the people of this country would have had to seek their fortunes elsewhere, oil and gas or no oil and gas, because APNU has an anti-development philosophy. And so today, it's a very different mood when I talk to you today, here. 2020, people were skeptical. They didn't know what would have been the outcome. Today, now, I look at your faces and you are all looking to the future with enthusiasm, with optimism. People can plan again for their own futures, to accumulate wealth, to take care of their children, to start families, because our country is changing for the better and for all the people of Guyana. And that's why I have no doubt, once we continue working very hard, that on 1st of September, we will have an unprecedented victory in this country. We'll win the elections in a massive way. But it requires hard work, and it requires every single one of you to play your part. So tonight, I want to talk to you a bit about the things that we are yet to do. Now, you know, if I take you down a short journey of our 5 years, in about 10 minutes, I want to take you down this journey. We came into office after having waged that battle to keep our country free. Irfan Ali was sworn in on the 2nd of August. And what happened at that time? We came in with a country that was shut down. COVID was stalking this land. About 40,000 people could not go to work. 35,000 had already lost jobs in the 5 years under APNU. So people were running out of money. They couldn't go to work. They were worried that they would die. There was no capacity to even test people. 40 tests per day were being done. The hospital that APNU started had no bed, no gas, nothing. And we said, we have to first of all take care of our people, keep them safe. And for 2 years nearly, we fought to keep the people of our country safe from death and from COVID. We lost some people, but in Guyana, we fared better than the United States of America and many of the developed countries, because within a matter of months, we moved the testing from 40 per day to 5,000. We put in the beds, the gas, we got vaccines from around the world. They were opposed to it. We started keeping people safe. We started getting masks out. But we lost 2 years of our term in just keeping people safe. So in all you see happening in Guyana took place in 3 years basically. All the changes that you have seen. Because the first 2 years we had to keep our people safe. And then those 3 years, what did we do? We put together plans for the best healthcare system in the world, which we promised in our manifesto, that we are building out now. We awarded contracts for 12 new hospitals, and now many are being completed. Within the next month, 6 of those will be open across Guyana. 6 of those. In another couple of years, by next year, the Women and Children Hospital will be open. Yesterday, after my press conference, I met a group of about 30 Afro-Guyanese who came to Freedom House to say they're supporting the PPP. And I asked them, did you drive on the new highway? And they said, yes, the bypass road. And I said, asked them, did you see the new hospital? And they said, no. And then I showed them a picture, and they said, we thought that was a hotel going up there. It's a hospital. It's a multiple-story hospital, one of the best in the world for a woman and children that will be completed next year. And I said to them, when we're done moving out the woman, the pediatric and maternal unit from the Georgetown Hospital, we'll also rebuild the Georgetown Hospital, a new hospital there. We opened the new hospital in a couple of weeks at Dekendron here, and we're rebuilding the one at Best there. A new hospital also in the Vredenhoop area. And all of these plans have been put together and being implemented in the last 3 years. When we're done, this country would have world-class health care for its people. They would be able. You don't have to worry about paying for even tertiary care, because that will be accessible to everyone. Secondly, we put together a plan for all the infrastructure. Every highway that you've seen, there was no plan for it. We had the plan since 2003 when I was president, like for the bypass and the road to the airport. But we put together those plans and we implemented them. APNU took several years to build a narrow road like this, and a few of them. Look at what we have done. Thousands of kilometers of roads in the last 3 years under the PPP government. The highways across the country, and we have laid out. We finished. We said, how are we going to help in Region 3? Region 3, that's why we built the Crane bypass. And in the next term, we're going to build another 4-lane road from Parika all the way back to the bridge. And then the existing road will also be widened and repaved so that you don't have the traffic jams that we see every afternoon here in this region. You're going to have that bridge. APNU had a bridge across the Maruka River, a tiny bridge like that. In 5 years they built, and they love it. They talk about it all the time. We've been building across Guyana all the bridges. There are 45 bridges from Linden to the border with Brazil. All are being built except the Pukari Bridge. There's another 4-lane bridge across the Demerara River in Linden, along with the one that is here now being built into Region 3. We're building all the bridges in Berbice because we are awarding a 4-lane road from Suriname all the way to New Amsterdam. In the next term, we will build a bridge across the Berbice River, a high-span bridge, and they're all toll-free. In a month's time, you would start traveling across this bridge, toll-free bridge, here, from this region. And we put together these plans and implemented them in 3 years. Just imagine what 5 more years would happen in this country. 5 years. We have the schools. We built over 100 schools across Guyana. We trained another 6,000 teachers. We hired 3,000 more teachers. Now, we have the teacher-to-student ratio as one of the lowest in the world. In fact, better than Europe. That is student in the classroom. We increased teachers' salaries. We gave out nearly 40,000 scholarships. We promised 20,000. We delivered 40,000. We've been training more. We made university education free, consistent with our promise. We said we'll pay for 8 subjects, CXC and CSEC, for every student in Guyana, in the private sector and the public sector. In the next term, we return the Because We Care grant and raise it to $50,000. So that cost $11 billion we put back in the pockets of the parents that APNU took away from them. $11 billion a year. In the next term, we intend to expand the school feeding program. We will increase the Because We Care grant. We will then give every child every year a transport grant so they can help to pay for their transportation to school. We want to take away all the burden of funding education from the families. We talk about health. We take away the burden of you having to spend your money on health care, and we won't want the families to have to spend their money on paying for education too. We have done that. 50,000 house lots have been prepared. We spent nearly $300 billion. Here in this region, we had to take back the lands at Wales that APNU closed the estate, sold out the factory of scrap metal, gave the housing there at Wales to some of their acolytes, and then gave away the land practically to their supporters. We took it back. Right now we're developing 15,000 house lots for the people of this region too, so that every family can have a house lot. If you didn't get it this term, you definitely get it the next term. And we want our young people to start applying for those house lots too. We kept that promise to the people of Guyana. And so we return the joint services bonus. I can go down the long list of things that we promised and we delivered. The miners got help once again. We removed all the taxes that APNU did, put on them. The farmers start getting help again. The rice farmers, the sugar workers, 4,000 of them were rehired. We started paying them back again. Everybody. So now we promise jobs. Over 60,000 people now are working more than were working in 2020, earning about 100 billion Guyana dollars more. That is what we generate jobs. So much so that there is a scarcity of labor in many parts of this country. We kept every promise we made. So when we go to these elections, we go with a great deal of credibility. We're a trustworthy party. We do what we say. No other political party can claim that. You see all of them now with manifestos. They're stealing our ideas. They don't have even the original thought to come up with ideas of their own. And the promise that they make is not worth the toilet paper that you go to the toilet in with. Because you know they promised things in the past. They promised, one man promised he's going to build a house for everybody. You know he's promising to build houses. Well, I'm going to talk about that later. I'm going to talk about that. But the only hope of young people or anyone of getting a house in the future is with the People's Progressive Party Civic. We have shown our track record. You will get land and then we'll assist people. We made it clear in the next term we want to assist people, particularly poor families, to acquire their own houses. That is directly through assistance, financial assistance. So I can talk about a lot about what we did. Tonight I want to talk about the future too, what we are yet to do. So we have changed this country back in the 5 years. People are hopeful. They're full of energy. They're more united than ever. Our party has grown stronger than in the past. We have now the only multi-ethnic party in this country. You see people of every race, every religion, every gender, every age group finding a home in the PPP, because ours is a national agenda. And so we have to look to the next 5 years and come back to the things that we have not done as yet. And there are many things that we still need to do. We need to ensure that every community in Guyana is clean and safe. That means investment in every village, every town, every ward in the city of Georgetown. We need to make sure, now that we have fixed the roads and people have good roads to drive on, we now have to ensure that in every community, the families have a playground, the young people, a good playground, well lit, so that the young people can go there, recreational facilities for the families, the elderly where they can go in the evenings and have a walk. The security cameras are in every community to avoid crime, that there are lights in every one of these communities, that we fix the drains by putting in concrete drains in the villages, etc., that we remove the garbage from the community, that we ensure that people who park their vehicles on the road, that they have another place that they can park them, the big trucks and blocking up everything, that they can find somewhere else to park, because we need the trucks too. We need to make sure by building mini estates across the villages, that if people have a spray shop next door to you, or they're mining goat, that they can have a place to move that spray shop to, so that they can continue working and earning, and at the same time don't affect the others. We need to do that. That is how we see every village safe, planting trees in our villages, so you can raise your family in a safe community, in a clean community. That is what we have to return to. When we build the highways and the bridges and the schools and the hospitals, and we have jobs, more jobs, better paying jobs for everyone, we now need to turn our attention back to the villages so that people live a safe, comfortable life. When they go to the shopping malls in their villages, they have money to spend. We have to focus on getting more money into people's pockets. The poor families have to get more help so that they too can enjoy the prosperity of our country. That single parents, we have to assist them. Poor families to get jobs or to take away costs from them. And how do we take away costs from people? They don't have to spend on education. They don't have to spend on health care. By taking away this cost from them, and then tackling things like the cost of living. So, when we got into office in COVID, after COVID, all the prices globally, everywhere in the world went up, because what happened? The factories were closed. The freight prices went up, harder to import things, and therefore we had to respond. How did the PPP respond? One, your electricity bill, which is a big part of cost of living. In 2020, the price has not changed from 2020 to now. You know why? Because every year we spend $80 million to subsidize your electricity bill. Because if we didn't do it, because globally the cost of fuel has gone up, your prices would have gone up by about 35%. It stayed the same, like from 2020 to now. The water rate did not change from 2020 to now because we subsidize water too. The transportation costs, we took off the 50% excise tax. on diesel and gasoline. It costs us over $80 billion. So every gallon of gas or diesel you buy, there is 560 Guyana dollars of subsidy. If we didn't do that, you would have had to pay 560 Guyana dollars for every gallon of gas that you purchase now. That is how we were fighting the cost of living too, because we did not want prices, all the prices to escalate. We couldn't do much about the price of cassava or plantain because the farmers produce the cassava and plantain, and many times, you know, middlemen make the money. The farmers get $40 per pound. By the time it's sold at Breed and Hoop, it's $120. It's $120. You can't do much about that. They call for control price. But the things that we could have done about, like electricity and water and transportation and internet, we liberalized internet so that the cost came down. And mortgages, we reduced that so that we could help families go over this. The next term, we have to keep working at this, reducing costs, so that families, all families, poor as well as rich families, can enjoy the prosperity in our country. We need to change the taxation system. We've already made it clear in the last 5 years under APNU, and if we have 5 years under APNU, they increase over 200 taxes and fees, over 200. We promise in our 2020 manifesto that we will remove and reverse them. We remove and reverse the VAT on electricity, on water, and a whole range of items. And you know what? We promise in those in 2020, we will not put on any new taxes for people. In the 5 years under the PPP, there's been no new taxes. That's a major achievement. And we're saying in the next 5 years, there will be no new taxes on people. We also said we wanted to support families more. We started giving a deductible allowance for children. We gave a deductible for home mortgages. We've now put a $50,000 per month. If you earn overtime $50,000 a month, you don't have to pay any taxes on it. If you have a second job, the first $50,000, you don't have to pay any taxes. You know why? Because we want people who work harder to keep more of their money than less taxes collected by the government. We made it clear that we'll continue to do this to support families, etc. That we will continue. The president mentioned taxes on vehicles. People keep asking us about that. In 3 months, we're importing now 10,000 vehicles. 40,000 vehicles per year. Just imagine that, and the taxes are high. When we lower in the taxes the next term, I don't know what's going to happen in this country. Because we have to build more roads all the time, yes. Keep building the roads. And so, that is what you can expect from us. You can expect us to work with the people of the country. Every group of Guyanese will continue to get support to prosper. The business community can expand and create more jobs and keep more of the money that they earn. But so too will poor people, because we still have poverty. People think, oh, you can just come one day after all that APNU did in the 5 years, and how come we still have poverty? Well, when you send home 7,000 sugar workers and they don't have even money to send their children to school, what do you think you're putting people in the breadline? And 35,000 people lost their jobs under APNU. When they don't have a house because you never develop a house lot in the 5 years you were there, what do you think gonna happen? They would be poor too. And so we have to keep working to change people's lives, poor people too. This is important, They talk about oil and gas. They didn't have oil and gas money. Well, the taxes that they raised, they were collecting $94 billion more per year. But they chose to spend it on themselves. Food, vehicles, travel, all of that. Medical care for the ministers and their families abroad. The 50% salary increase for themselves. They didn't build roads or schools. In fact, the capital budget was reduced. So it is not about how much money you have. It is about your philosophy, your orientation, what you spend the money on. This is important. Now, the oil and gas revenue is only 37% of the budget. When you add the spending on healthcare and education, because on education, the budget was $53 billion in 2020, it's now $185 billion, a huge increase. When you look at that alone, we're spending almost all the money on roads, education, and health. They said they will increase wages and salaries to the public service by 35% per year. Now that will be over $1 trillion. That's bigger than the whole budget only the public servants would get. That's twice as much as the oil money we get. So I don't know where we're going to fund it from. Norton is going to go like what he said. He's going to give cheap fertilizer to the sugar workers. And then a man went on his stage and said, we're shutting down sugar and planting marijuana with the land. And Norton said, cheap fertilizer. The only way we will get cheap fertilizer from Norton, if he goes in the fields and fertilizes the field himself. You know what? By doing what? That's the only way. But we plan to build a fertilizer plant there. That is, once the gas to energy project is completed in this region, next year you're going to get your electricity bill will come down by 50%. You will then be able to purchase cooking gas in this country that we produce much, much cheaper than you're buying it now. That would help also with the cost of living. These wild promises they're making. We said to start small businesses. You have many small businesses in this region. First of all, we can't let GRA harass them, nor should we must support them. That is why we said we will establish a development bank so that small and medium-sized enterprises can then get soft loans, zero interest loans to expand their business. So if a woman has a shop or somebody else has a spray paint workshop or they're using drones to fertilize the fields, then they would be able to get more loans, zero interest loans to expand their business. That's what is part of our plan. So I can't lay out the whole manifesto because several weeks ago, what we did, we circulated a flyer with about 30 things that we plan to do in the next 5 years. I hope that every one of you will look at that flyer. We will launch the manifesto, which will elaborate on many of these issues later. But the flyer already gives you an orientation as to what will come in the next 5 years. Like Azrudin plagiarized our flyer and call it a manifesto. The man is so dumb he can't even put together a couple of words. And it very soon, yeah. Yeah, very, very soon. So, this is what we're about. In this region here, that not only that, the whole waterfront from the shore-based facility that they have offshore now, reclaiming lands there, that will generate thousands of jobs because we'd be able to land containers in this region instead of or along with containers coming to the ports in Georgetown. They will come in Region 3 because you would have a deeper waters there for the bigger ships to come. Those containers could easily be driven across the bridge because you couldn't drive them across the bridge in the past because of weight restriction. That will happen here. Thousands of jobs. The whole waterfront from Vredenhoop all the way to Wales will change. You'll have marinas, you'll have new businesses open, restaurants open, new ports, etc., so that the people of this region can also enjoy the benefits. You will see a whole range of new facilities across this region. So our plans are well laid out. We now need to just get past this hurdle of the elections on September 1st. And coming to that, I want to talk to you about risk. You know, everything could be put at risk. All of these plans for the future, because of complacency and because of people being misled. Complacency is because our supporters sometimes think we won already. They see the crowds, they think we won, but we have the support to win. But those numbers have to be translated onto the ballot. And that is why I expect every one of you here from this region to talk to your neighbors, to talk to everyone in your community, to make sure that on September 1st, you put the X next to the cup. That there is no... There will be no regret on September 2nd that I did not do that, because my head was hurting. I didn't feel like it that day, something. I've seen people in rain and sun stood up for elections and for their party and the future, their own future, for their children. And in 2020, APNU was trying to put polling places in their strongholds, like on the East Coast. The voters from Fowles were supposed to go to Paradise to vote. And I know that they wouldn't want to go to a neighboring village to vote. They tried that. They tried to make the most inhospitable conditions for the polling places. They put them on sometimes on tarmacs and in field, and people had to stay all day long in the hot sun because they were moving slowly, the polling agents. And the East Coast people, they tried to get them to go home. They tried to bully them to go home. And the people stood up there, old and young, all day long in the hot sun, waiting to vote. They couldn't get them out of the line. They stood there almost 8 hours, some of them, to vote because they know it's their future that they're thinking about. It's their future, their children's future, the future of this country that they were fighting for. So I expect all of you, every one of you, to have that same courage and resilience. Nobody must deter us from coming out there on that day, from assisting, from braving any adversity. It's raining, we're there. It's hot sun, we're there. If snow falls, we're there too. Anything happens on that day, we're there. That's the way we win. We must not be complacent. And when you go back homes tonight, from tomorrow morning, it's only about a month left. From tomorrow morning, you talk to your neighbor. You talk to those who are not here. You start prepping people to come out. The next thing where we can put our country at risk is if we don't understand the politics of this country. So in 2020, in 2015, APNU and AFC came together. And they went to many communities, the rice farmers, the sugar workers, many people who supported us and said it was time for a change. And they misled a lot of our people with false promises. They promised them 20% increase per year, the sugar workers. They got zero in the 5 years. The rice farmers, everyone had a promise. And what happened? Many either stayed home or they were misled by the promises. The consequences were that this country almost became a failed state under the PNC, APNU AFC. So they can't go back to these communities. They can't go back to the rice belt or the sugar belt, because soon as people hear APNU or AFC, they said no. Even in their own strongholds, they can't go because people recognize that they did not do what they promised. They promised young people jobs, they lost jobs. They promised help in Linden. They didn't do a single house lot in Linden too. This is their stronghold. So they can't go back there to many of these communities. And that's why they knew new faces. So in this case, Azruddin Mohammed comes in. Now Azruddin Mohammed, many people, they were saying, APNU, that we're covering up for Azruddin Mohammed because he is close to the People's Progressive Party. All year long, APNU and AFC used to say that. Then Azruddin Mohammed, there was a story in Reuters, which is the largest news agency in the world. It says that the United States government, 5 agencies in the US, including the Drug Enforcement Agency, were investigating the Mohammeds for gold smuggling, drug trafficking from Colombia, and money laundering for the Russian mafia. That is published, if you look at it, April 2023. They said that the US government is looking to sanction them. A year later, in June of 2024, the US government, through the Treasury Department, sanctioned the Mohammeds. It means that globally, nobody could do business with them. No banks, they can't have an account in the bank. The government of Guyana can't have any interaction with them, because if we do, we put at risk the entire country. If you continue to have a bank account there, then they can shut down our access to the US banking system. So no, you can't send any money abroad. You can't use a credit card. You can't use a debit card. The banks would just close down in Guyana. So we distanced ourselves. We said you have to face consequences. But he was very unhappy. He thought the PPP will protect him at the expense of every single other Guyanese. And we said no. We're an old party. We're Chetty Jagan's party. We work for Guyana. We're not going to work for you, Mohammed. So he then got upset and he started having these discussions with APNU and AFC, the team Mohammed. And that's why when we caught them going into the back door of Nigel Hughes' office, there was a picture of it. First they denied it, and then a picture surfaced. Nigel Hughes said, oh, it was a legal meeting, but he needed Truckman there for political advice. Look at, since he launched his campaign, the APNU and AFC have not criticized him. They used to criticize him all the time before, but now suddenly they stopped criticizing him. They then took their activists and gave them to him. So Ramaya in Berbice, Sogrim, Harbajan, on the Essequibo Coast, all the old AFC and APNU people, they gave him to help mobilize, because they think he can do what they did, AFC did in our strongholds in the past, which is mislead people. And they made it clear Last week, Patterson said anything but the PPP. They would collaborate with the devil, but they don't want the PPP. The same thing Norton said, that Azruddin Mohammed is paying people. The reporters asked him to go to his meeting, and look at who he goes. He has Doggy mobilizing for him. And they said, Norton said, oh, never mind that. The focus has to be on the PPP. So clearly they hope to do what they did in 2011, which is to bring the PPP below 50% in the parliament. That will never happen. That's not going to happen. Our support is very strong, and people recognize what is at play here. The Mohammeds are trying to save themselves, save their own ass. They don't care about the people of this country. The little thing about handing out houses and stuff. For example, he said he wouldn't collect a salary as president. The man already collected 300 years of salary nearly by evading 11 billion in taxes. You know what 11 billion could do? That could pay every school child because the care grant, every 200,000 of them. And he evaded that in 5 years alone and expect us to be grateful. So people, a lot of people used to like their post when he put up the nice picture in his Lamborghini. But this is a different thing. He has no capacity to manage anything. And look at him. Can't put together a couple of words together. You see that? How could you put the future of your children into the hands of a party that is made up of, a lot of them are rejects? I can go down the long list of the people associated with him, but tonight is not the night for that. He has no capacity to lead, no experience. He doesn't know anything about policy. All he wants to do is to save himself. Look at yesterday, when their launch was a disaster of the manifesto. He got one of his enablers, Travis Chase, who works with the Halagala TV, to make a post that the ministers under the PPP will be sanctioned. He then repeated it on the Team Mohammed site to make it look, oh, we all in this shit together. Sorry, my expression. So, it's not true, because the HGTV told Travis Chase to pull it down. It's not correct, because it's a lie. So he get these people from the media houses, pay them off, and then they carry favorable stories all the time. And he has this group of trolls online who pushes that line. They're not going to put themselves at risk. The sister who talks a lot and the brother-in-law, they didn't give up their US citizenship. All the other people are going to lose now. Some will lose their bank accounts, etc. It's a selfish enterprise. So you need to understand what is at stake here. We can't put the future of this country at risk. They were nowhere in 2020, and they will not be there. He will not be anywhere after September 1st. If he's taken a trip to the US, I saw, he said, I think the US will remove the sanctions if I win the elections. That's what he's saying. Well, the only way he's going into the US is if he's taken there. And I suspect they may very well take him there for other reasons. So, he already trying to lie to people. This is the other risk that we have to take. We have to be careful. We have to work hard. We have to let people see our heart. Let them see our vision. Let them see our plans for the future, because we're the only party that has plans, well laid out plans, well thought out plans for the future. And we have to reach out across traditional boundaries. The young guy, especially the young Afro-Guyanese guy that we want to speak to, where would you, when you, the 50,000 that Mohammed gives you, that you have to fight for now or get beaten up because you want to collect your money like doggy beat up the lady. When the 50,000 disappears, what else? What else? Nothing. Under the PPP, if you're a young man, if you're Afro-Guyanese or Indo-Guyanese or Amerindian, we're saying to you, we will pay for your education. We will get you to apply for a house lot and you get a house lot. We will make sure you find a good paying job. We'll assist you to start a family. That's the vision we sell to our young people. Not collect 50,000, run down the road, beat up a couple of people. Not that. That is what he sells. And so there's a clear differentiation. And on the APNU, what are they selling to young people? The PNC, AFC, they're telling them, oh, the PPP been killing young Afro-Guyanese. All arguments that they can't use anymore. The old racism. That's what they're selling to young people. Nothing about the upliftment. The young kid who wants to work hard. The young Indian or Amerindian or Afro-Guyanese kid or mixed kid who wants to work hard and start a future. The young lady who wants to do better in her life. Nothing for them except negatives all the time. PPP bad, PPP this, PPP would kill you. That is what they keep selling. So it's a very different vision today. And I wanted tonight to talk to you seriously. Because at the rally, you get a lot of music and waving and jumping there. But I don't get to talk to people about what is at stake. It is about message. We're the only party that has a track record you can be proud of. We delivered. We are the only party that has a plan for the future. We're the only party that brings people together. We're the only party that has shown that Guyana can achieve prosperity in a sustained way. And so, on the 1st of September, I expect us to have an overwhelming victory. Irfan Ali is a young man. He was a member of my cabinet, and I've had long interactions with him. I know his heart, I know his ability to work, I know his capabilities, and there's no other leader at this point in time who comes even close to him. As Houdini can shine his shoe, Irfan Ali's shoe. The man is like a kindergarten child. Your child going to kindergarten has got more brain than him. And so that is what we have at stake here. A leader with capability. Irfan Ali stands at the United Nations and delivers a speech. He talks about keeps our borders safe. He could interact in the most enhancing or the greatest fora of the world with leaders who are clever. You think you can put this Dumbo to ever go there? All he be talking about is his Lamborghini and his clothes. Nothing else. No. And then Norton thinks he's a supermodel, he's very handsome. He's been criticizing me and my bald head. So he said, calling me bald rat and all kinds of things at his meeting. I'm not going to reciprocate because Norton will be the #1 supermodel in Guyana. He is the most handsome man in Guyana. We'll use him as a poster boy for Guyana. Yeah. Nigel Hughes will put him to build all the Pitla trains in the hinterland. He's a Pitla train man. His policies around Pitla trains, yeah. When I look at this bunch, they're all being together. As Tandai said, they're all splintered now. So the whole coalition now split into 4. and they all are the same way. So it's a waste of vote to vote for any one of them. And then they have this Azruddin Mohammed. So they're all in one camp and they're all against the PPP. What? They're going to suck salt. Yes, exactly. Lady right. They're going to suck salt. Let them vote. Yeah. They're going to suck salt. Remember when we went back to the sugar belt? After we were there in 2020, 15 to 2020, the same people who were running around with the AFC, they said, we made a mistake, but it was when they lost their jobs. But it was too late. And so you're right, people are going to suck salt if they go that route. Right? But they're not going that route. We got smart people in this country. They've seen through the politics of it. And they've seen that only the People's Progressive Party and an experienced leader like Irfan Ali can lead this country to prosperity. So thank you very much for being here tonight. I really appreciate you. Let's move forward to the 1st of September. I expect to see all of you at the rally, every single one of you, and we'll continue the conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you.